Oh, hey, good morning. Welcome to my channel. We are Quilters and BLABFEST Friday. I am back in West Virginia in my huge sewing room, the biggest room in the house. You wouldn't know it with all the stuff sitting around, but it's true. Let me grab my list of stuff to blab with you about today, and we'll sit and have a chat. Don't you love that? We'll talk about that too. So, now it is time to unpack. Let me sit down and be comfortable. Hang on just a second. My name is Lorrie, and I am so glad that you dropped by today to chat. So, I am back in the big room. Here I sew on a lovely little white Singer most of the time. I do have other machines, but I have this thing for old Singers. And I love this little white one. If you accidentally cut your arm off, I swear you could sew it back on with this little Singer, because it is tough. Unless you get 1/8 of an inch of thread stuck somewhere behind the bobbin assembly. And that's another story for another day. That was why I got this machine so inexpensively. So, back in the big room, now it is time to unpack. And I have piles of fabric that I brought back from Michigan everywhere. I've got this big tote down here that needs to be moved so I don't trip and hurt myself. I've got a pile. I've got fabric from the schoolhouse project that just needs put away. Everything has its place, but I haven't had time to do that. And I've already taken 2 days to get this cleaned up. And then I have other projects like the latch hook rug. It's partway down. I paid a whole $1 for it. It has fantastic roses. Looks like little old lady me, but I've been that way and loved roses since I was in my 20s. So I would have loved this no matter when I found it, but I did find this very nice project, and I will have winter time to work on it. And here in this house, if I want to enjoy the fireplace, I can't be in my sewing room. I have to be in the living room and sit and enjoy whatever programming my husband is watching on TV. So it will be a great project for a snowy day when we just sit and watch movies. And I'm counting 1, 2, 3 piles of stuff. Only three. So I think I did better I didn't take as much stuff to Michigan and haul it all back, but it's still too much. So I'm hoping that this big tote of fabric on the floor, I'm going to sort it all out, and then I'm going to repack it with a variety and take it back at Christmas time when we go visit my son and daughter-in-law, and drop it off at the cabin so that it will be there waiting for me. And it can live there permanently because it will be sealed up, and I will seal the top with plastic if I need to, so that the fabric doesn't take on a cabin smell. That's what I'm going to call it, a cabin smell. So behind me, and this does not match the layout that I have on the board here. This does not match this. It's close, but there's a lot more that goes in there that we haven't done. So for example, you saw Jubilee on Wednesday, and that was the last full-size block. Now we have setting stars, and I'm going to do those with both bonus triangles and with geese. And in the instructions on that video, I will put construction directions for both, so that if you want to think about it and change it, and if you need help, you can always contact me and I will help you figure out the numbers to cut. But I'll do both. So then I also need setting geese because that center block is much bigger than the outside edges. So it has a special setting, if you haven't noticed, in the layout. And then the last week of November, we will do some final borders with this lovely gold fabric. You can use whatever you want, but I'm using this lovely gold fabric to brighten it up and make it really sing. And then we will be done with this top. And I already have somebody in mind who is a veteran to receive this top as a gift. It has some marine fabric in it, so it had to be for a marine. We did make one final thrift store stop in Michigan. And I love their thrift stores. I need to find a thrift outlet here. There are lots of thrift stores in Winchester, Virginia, but I can't seem to find one that makes me as happy as the couple that are in West Branch, Michigan. I will find them. I will. It's just a matter of searching for them. So while we were on our last thrifting trip, I found this cute flower pincushion. I'm using it as a pincushion. I don't know what it was really meant to be, but it is going to live on the corner of my display board so that I have pins. Here, the pins are right next to my big wall, but there, not so much. So I needed something to put pins on because I was running back and forth every time I was pinning something up. So that'll take care of that issue. I also saw, but did not buy, Diana, I believe, was the one who commented on the cross stitch on Crazy Blocks. She was saying that, you know, in the 80s, wasn't candle wicking cross stitch on fabric? And yes, it was. And while we were at the thrift store, I came across this candle wicking thread. I did not buy it because it seems like a lightweight yarnish version of pearl cotton. And I have lots of pearl cotton, and I wasn't too sure about, not the color. I liked the color of this. It was like a rusty color, but it did not say color fast, and it was a thinner thread. So I passed on that, and it was more than I thought that thread should be. So I passed on that, but I just had to show you that, yes, those candle wicking supplies are still out there for those of you who want to do candle wicking. And I looked up, there are YouTube videos, and there are other places you can find candle wicking. Interesting enough. And it is in the embroidery book that I've been using. So that's out there. I also had some fabric finds, a piece of floral and some blue, but this is the piece de resistance. It is a yard piece. It's a gingerbread house. I love the detail on the roof, and I love the little front door. How cute. I always wanted somebody to make a real gingerbread house with me. I didn't have enough energy to do it myself. And when I mentioned it to my grandmother when I was in my 20s, she was like, oh, and you can use this kind of candy for this, and you can use this kind of candy and this kind of icing. But she never said, hey, let's make a gingerbread house. So I'm going to not follow the directions for this completely because I want it to be like one of those collapsible boxes you use in an IKEA thing. And I want to, so I can store it. And I want to be able to use it to hide things like the naughty little elf whenever it comes time. So, and I'll be able to add bling to that too. So I am going to make this, but not following the directions. And then the fabric with all the directions printed on them will be used as background fabrics, even though it's a muslin type. And I see that it was printed by VIP Fabrics, and it was probably a pretty pricey panel. I paid $1 for it, and I was thrilled. I know my husband goes, okay, every time I pick something like that up, but I think he thought it was pretty cool too. So last thing I have to share with you this week, because I have a lot of unpacking to do, I have Diana's quilt. She sent this picture. She said, this uses big pieces of scrap. I love this weather vanish shape. There are certain things that make my heart really sing. I love stars, but I love the weather vane shape in quilts. It's like I like teardrop earrings. I love the weather, and I like oval rings. There are certain shapes for certain things that make my heart happy when I see them. And so I love her weather vane shape. It has very nice colors. She said she found the perfect border. I don't know how you choose borders, but I sometimes choose the border beforehand and pick colors from it to do the blocks. That's what I did for the Study in Scarlet quilt, and I'll talk about that later. Or sometimes, and I think this is what Diana said in her email, that she chose the border afterwards, but it matches perfectly. You would never know that she chose it before or after, because it draws out all the colors in her quilt. It is a perfect wider border to draw your eye back and forth. She said this was quilted by Missouri Star Quilt Company. She dropped it off for its visit to the quilter, and she had Minky put on the back. She says that the pictures do not do justice to the lovely emerald green Minky, and they don't. The close-up makes it look kind of gray, and her long shot, and I love this because, wait, I'll zoom in here, looks like a bluish green, but it's still beautiful either way. The quilting is beautiful, and it stands out very nicely. What a complete package of a quilt, with the front, the pattern, the border, and the backing. Fantastic quilt. I know that that's amazingly short for today, but with the time change and the travel and the unpacking, whew, we're lucky I'm still standing. So I need to get back to some cleaning and organizing, and I will talk to you on Monday, where we add some more blingy things to, I think I'm going to use a different set of blocks. I've already dug through my box of Crazy Quilt blocks, and I'm going to add seed beads and rocaille beads just to give you some ideas of little beads, and it is washable, kinda. We'll talk about that on Monday. So I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy some inside and outside time, and I will see you on Monday for Upskill Monday. See you then. Bye. Thank you for watching.